A gunsmith is a person who repairs, modifies, designs, or builds guns. This occupation differs from an armorer in that a gunsmith makes use of machine tools such as a lathe and mill. A gunsmith does factory-level repairs, renovation, such as applying metal finishes, and makes modifications and alterations for special uses. Gunsmiths may also apply carvings, engravings, and other decorative features to an otherwise finished gun. The environment in which all this takes place often varies depending on the specific locality, with some gun stores featuring one or a handful of individuals while others resemble large-scale specialty shops. Overview. Gunsmiths may be employed in factories by firearms manufacturers, armories by military or law enforcement agencies, sporting goods stores, or small gunsmith shops, as either the owner, or as one of a handful of employees. To pursue the entirety of this trade, a gunsmith must possess skills as a parts fabricator, a metal worker or blacksmith, a woodworker and an artisan, be knowledgeable in shop mathematics, ballistics, chemistry, and materials engineering, be knowledgeable in the use and application of a variety of hand, power, and machinist's tools and measuring devices, and be capable of working accurately and precisely. Those who are self-employed in small gunsmith shops must also possess skills as small business operators, work effectively with a wide variety of customers, and remain abreast of, and comply with federal, state, and local laws, ordinances, and requirements. Due to the great breadth of subject matter to be mastered, many gunsmiths specialize in only a few of the skills required of the general gunsmith. Alternatively, some gunsmiths learn many of the skills of the trade, but only apply them to a few weapon types, e.g. only pistols, only shotguns, only specific brands or models. Responsibilities. The primary technical responsibility of gunsmiths is to ensure that the guns work and function safely. They accomplish this firstly by always properly observing gun safety handling procedures, both in their own actions, and in the actions of their customers and the people around them. They accomplish this secondly by inspecting guns to ensure safe mechanical operation. Gunsmiths use their in-depth knowledge of guns to guide these inspections, either repairing deficiencies, or notifying customers of unsafe conditions and taking steps to prevent catastrophic failures. Some of those around them are improper assembly, missing parts, cracks. All cracked parts are cause for concern, but especially so in the chamber area, bolt lugs, or buttstock. Bore obstructions, being either dented or bent barrels, or foreign material in barrels. Improper head space, dimensions concerning the relative locations of the chamber and the bolt are not within specified tolerances. Improper timing, applies to fully automatic firearms and revolvers. Safety mechanism malfunctions, potentially allowing a gun with the safety mechanism supposedly engaged to unexpectedly fire. Worn sear edges, potentially allowing a firearm to unexpectedly fire when the safety mechanism is disengaged. Firing pin tips deformed, leading to the possibility of primer rupture. This list is not comprehensive. Many failure modes are dependent on the particular model of firearm. Common tasks: disassemble, clean, inspect, lubricate and reassemble. Remove corrosion and touch up finish. Repair bad or damaged parts with files and stones. Replace defective parts with factory-made replacements, hand-fitting as necessary. Add aftermarket customizations. Sling swivels, recoil pads, iron sights, scopes, grip caps, butt plates. Repair and refinish wooden stock parts. Checker or rechecker grip areas. Deepen or clean up worn or damaged engravings and markings. Recrown damaged muzzles on a lathe. Repair dented shotgun barrels. Install, solder, or repair rib on shotgun barrels, or repair double barrel assemblies. Measure and correct headspace dimensions. Check for excessive bore erosion. Troubleshoot and repair feeding, ejecting and firing problems. Test fire guns with conventional loads to ensure proper operation. Fabricate wooden stocks to customer specifications and body dimensions. Fit same to existing receiver and barrel. Glass bed actions to stocks to improve accuracy. Remove existing metal finish, and reblue metal parts. Fabricate replacement parts from metal stock. Modify trigger pull weight through careful stoning of trigger mechanism parts. Fireproof loads through weapons to ensure sufficient strength of parts under overload conditions. Replace worn barrels, which have fired so many rounds that they are no longer of the specified caliber, which leads to loss of accuracy. Change caliber or cartridge of existing rifle, by changing barrel, and modifying receiver. Recut rifling and change caliber of existing barrel. Design and build complete rifles by fitting stock barrels to stock receivers, fabricating or purchasing additional parts as needed, and fitting same to rifle. Fitting custom stock to same they. Design and build a complete rifle, shotgun, or combination gun from start to finish. Combination guns, usually referred to as a drilling, is a highly complex handmade long gun with several joined barrels combining both rifle and shotgun calibers and gauges sharing a common breech and butt stock. The highest level examples of custom-made firearms usually start out as several pieces of blank steel stock or rough forged parts, a slab, stock blank, of walnut, steel tubes with rifled or smooth holes, bores, drilled their length, and are usually handmade by highly skilled gunsmiths using nothing more than an occasional lathe, milling machine, heat-treating furnace, for making springs, hardening parts to the proper hardness, and color case hardening, with the majority of roughing, fitting, and finishing done completely by hand using files, scrapers, abrasive paper and cloth, chisels and rasps. Specializations. While some gunsmiths are general practitioners in this trade, some of the more important specializations are: custom builder/designer. Builds guns to customer's specification, from raw materials and shelf parts. Gunsmiths specializing in custom areas can be called upon by professional target shooters, avid sports shooters, or anyone that wants custom attributes added to their firearm to create highly accurate or custom-looking firearms. A custom gunsmith also builds high-end firearms for hunters and shooters with needs and desires that cannot be served by standard cataloged firearms offered by gun manufacturers. They may work in partnership with engravers and other specialized artists to produce unique finishes and decorations not possible on regular mass-produced firearms. Some highly specialized gunsmiths can complete all firearm modifications without anyone else in the industry helping them. This is likely the most highly skilled of gunsmiths, as they are required not only to have proficiency in the other areas of gunsmithing, but must also be well educated in firearm finishing and machining, in order to manufacture the individual components and even springs before assembly takes place. Finisher. Applies various chemical processes, browning, bluing, parkerization, among others, to the metal parts of guns to develop corrosion-resistant surface layers on the steel. They may also apply case hardening to low-carbon steel parts. Case hardening is a combined chemical and heat treatment process which introduces carbon into the surfaces of low steel alloys that does not contain sufficient carbon to allow total, through, heat treatment. This carbon-rich surface is then heat-treated resulting in a thin, very hard surface layer with a tough, malleable core. This process can be done solely for the mechanical properties, hardness and toughness, it imparts, or, by packing the parts in bone charcoal and other chemicals and heating in a heat treatment furnace for varying time periods, it is possible to introduce rich colors into the carbonized surface. This type of case hardening, known as color case hardening, is prized for its rich mottled blues, purples, browns and gray tones. It is possible, with highly skilled craftsmen using highly proprietary processes, to control the hues and patterns so closely that one familiar with high-grade custom firearms can usually recognize the maker of another shooter's firearm solely by the colors and patterns on its parts, an important distinction on extremely costly firearms of the highest grade. Typically, its use is usually restricted to receivers, rarely barrels. Although providing corrosion resistance, the colored surface layers are subject to wear and may also fade with time. Antique firearms for sale frequently note the specific percentage of the factory original case coloring remaining on the receiver and lock plates. Renewing this color case hardening to the specific patterns of the firearm when it was new has become an important sub-area of the gunsmithing field. Stock maker carves gun stocks from wood, usually walnut, although birch, maple, and apple wood, among others, are frequently seen. Fits stocks to the metal parts of the gun, receiver and barrel, as well as to customers' body dimensions. With custom-made shotguns, the fit to the individual shooter is vital, as the shot cloud's impact is largely determined by the way the stock fits the shooter. Very high-grade firearms may have stocks fashioned from very costly blanks, mostly of one of the walnut varieties, specially chosen for its rare and highly figured grain. The fashioning of high-end gun stocks calls for an extremely high level of skill and craftsmanship, as the finished product must be pleasing aesthetically, fit the shooting customer like an orthopedic device, all the while having the ability to withstand high levels of recoil from the firing of many thousands of rounds. Wood gun stocks may be fashioned with automated machinery, for production firearms, while high-end gun stocks are handmade using saws, chisels, gouges, rasps, and files. The surfaces are then finished by sanding, scraping, staining, oiling, or lacquering. Checkerer. This specialization is frequently combined with that of the stock maker, uses checkering tools to create an ornate pattern of small raised diamonds in the wood surfaces which are to be gripped. The checkering tools are in effect tiny saws, designed to leave a V-shaped groove, of approximately 60 to 90 degrees, in the surface of the wooden gun stock. Special checkering tools consisting of two saw blades in parallel are used to set the spacing, between 16 and 24 lines per inch. The area to be checkered is covered by one set of such grooves parallel to each other. A second set of parallel grooves is then executed across the first set, at approximately a 30-degree angle, leaving the area covered with small, pointed diamonds. The edges of the checkered area are frequently ornamented with simple bas-relief wood carving, frequently variations on the fleur-de-lis. Gun engraver uses hand gravers or die sinkers chisels to cut designs or pictures into the metal surfaces of the gun, primarily the receiver. The firearms engraver must first be a highly gifted and capable artist that can first compose the desired design freehand on paper. In many cases, the customer must be consulted and must approve the design. In some cases, the engraving may incorporate a favorite scene, a revered hunting dog, or even family members and residences. The engraver must have a thorough knowledge of human and animal anatomy, perspective, botany, and composition. The smallness and geometry of the parts must also be considered, and harmony between all these factors must artistically agree. These designs must then be cut freehand into the tough hardened steel surfaces of the firearm. Pneumatically driven engraving systems, such as the Gravermeister, developed by GRS Tools, may be used to replace or supplement hand-powered engraving, but the guiding of these powered tools is still provided by the artist. Other metals, especially gold and silver, may be inlaid and engraved to further the design. Designs usually consist of elaborate scroll work based upon acanthus leaves or vines, or may be of purely abstract spirals. Before the development of corrosion-resistant surface treatments for steel, gun surfaces were engraved to retain more oil to prevent rust. In modern usage, guns are engraved purely for artistic reasons. Top-grade engraving is very expensive but well executed. Tastefully designed engraving always adds significantly to the value of quality firearms. Many of the world's foremost art museums have highly decorated firearms in their collections because of the high artistic merit and craftsmanship of their engraved, chiseled, and carved decoration. Many books exist on the subject of highly decorated firearms, with detailed illustrations showing their art in steel. Pistol smith specializes in work on pistols and revolvers. Pistol smiths should be proficient in a range of skills such as woodworking, checkering, machining, metal finishing and metalworking. They must have an excellent understanding of the mechanical characteristics and function of the guns they work on. Often a pistol smith is called on for extensive customization of a handgun, making it better suited for its intended purpose. Target pistols usually start out as standard models but receive extensive reworking by skilled pistol smiths, resulting in a firearm that is capable of much greater accuracy than the standard versions of the same arm. Or, a pistol smith may construct a completely hand-fitted target arm using a serial numbered frame as the base, as required by law, with the rest of the parts supplied with excess metal in certain areas by specialist manufacturers so the pistol smith can fit these parts together to exacting tolerances. Using these methods, the pistol smith can build highly accurate firearms that greatly exceed the usual accuracy of standard models of the same model. Some highly specialized pistol smiths are very well trained in machining and can completely change the way the firearm handles. The more highly trained a pistol smith is, the more firearms they will work on. Some only work on one or two types of manufacturers' pistols, while the more advanced will work on more. Some specialty pistol smiths will even add a hard-mounted red dot onto the pistol's slide for quicker target acquisition. One of the earliest examples of this new trend was done in 2011 and showcased at the beginning of 2013 by H.K. Niche, manufacturer. Some gunsmiths used their experience and skills to become small operation manufacturers, specializing in making only a few types of gun parts, for sale to other gunsmiths and gunmakers. Some of the more important part categories are barrels, trigger assemblies, receivers, locks, as in flint locks. Training and education. In general, gunsmiths develop and expand their skills through years of experience. Some common ways to get started in gunsmithing include: community colleges and correspondence courses offer various courses of study, less than 2 years long, leading to a degree or a certification. Well-known schools offering training in the trade include the Murray State College Gunsmithing Program, the Pennsylvania Gunsmith School, the Trinidad State Junior College Gunsmithing Program, and the Yavapai College Gunsmithing School. Military training. This is usually at the armorer level, but some, notably the Army Marksmanship Unit, AMU, may have individuals specializing in sniper or service match, target competition, arms. These highly gunsmithed, accurized, rifles and pistols are derived from standard service models and are used in target shooting and combat marksmanship roles. The U.S. Army trains and employs MOS 45B small arms repairmen. Was redesignated MOS 91F in spring of 2004. The U.S. Air Force trains and employs combat arms instructors, firearms instructors and small arms repairers, AFSC, MOS 3P0X1B. The U.S. Marine Corps trains and employs MOS 2111 and MOS 2112. The U.S. Navy trains and employs gunners' mates, GM. Apprenticeships, learning directly from professional gunsmiths. The National Rifle Association offers short courses in many common tasks and skills of professional gunsmithing. It also sponsors educational programs such as the one at Lassen College in Susanville, CA, and most notable at Trinidad State Junior College in Trinidad, CO. Basic machinist skills, while not limited to gunsmithing, are of great help to aspiring gunsmiths. These may include both machine and hand tool operations, such as metal turning, drilling, filing, stoning or polishing. News of the most highly skilled and talented gunsmiths typically spreads by word of mouth, based on the quality of their work. The very best and most talented gunsmiths command premium prices for their services, and may have waiting lists booked for several years in advance. Notable gunsmiths: Hugo Borchardt, June 6, 1844 – May 8, 1924, German firearms inventor and engineer, known for the Borchardt C93 pistol and Sharps Borchardt Model 1878 rifle. Browning family. Jonathan Browning, October 22, 1805 – June 21, 1879, American pioneer and firearms inventor, father of John Moses Browning. Browning owned a gunsmithing shop in Ogden, Utah, USA, and was the inventor of the harmonica gun, an early repeating rifle. He was a highly skilled gunsmith, who could build complete firearms from basic metal and wood. His shop is preserved in Ogden, not only because of his prominence in that area's western settlement, but because his son, John M. Browning, learned his gunsmithing skills there. Browning was an early convert to the Mormon faith, and followed their migration from Nauvoo, Il, to Ogden. John M. Browning, January 23, 1855 – November 26, 1926, firearms inventor and designer of most of the successful early 20th century firearms designs, many of which are still in production and used today. John Moses Browning was a true gunsmith who designed all his creations at his workbench. He filed and cut out each part of his prototype designs himself, and the resulting product was usually ready for mass production with very few changes. Browning was a freelance designer who sold his designs to established firearms firms. He designed the first practical semi-automatic shotgun, the Browning Auto 5, almost all the early Winchester lever-action rifles, the first successful slide-action, pump, shotgun, the Winchester Model 12, the selective-fire Browning automatic rifle, designed for the U.S. military to give them a lightweight one-man portable machine gun in a rifle caliber, the benchmark Colt 1911.45 automatic pistol, the M1919 Browning .30 calories belt-fed machine gun, which was later upscaled and modified into the M2.50 calories belt-fed heavy machine gun, which is still used by the U.S. military. He also designed the Winchester high-wall and low-wall single-shot actions, which combined very light weights, ease of machine production, and great strength, allowing them to be used with the most powerful center-fire cartridges. He also designed the Browning superposed shotgun, an over and under double-barrel shotgun design that combined a pleasing aesthetic appearance, great durability under use, a simple action with a minimum of rugged parts, and the ability to be mostly machine manufactured, ensuring a selling cost that was within the reach of most shooters. He also made manufacturing agreements with F.N. Herstal to manufacture his designs, which were marketed under the Browning Arms Company trademark. Browning was a brilliant designer, a consummate craftsman, and a very savvy businessman. He was the father of Val A. Browning. Val A. Browning, August 20, 1895 – May 16, 1994, son of John Browning, the firearms inventor. John Garand, January 1, 1888 – February 16, 1974, Canadian-American firearms designer, noted as the creator of the M1 Garand. Jacob and Samuel Hawken, 1786–1849, 1792–1884, American gunsmiths, famous for designing the Plains rifle named after them, the Hawken rifle. Alexander Henry, 1818–1894, a Scottish gunsmith and designer of the Henry rifling and barrel used in the Martini Henry rifle. Benjamin Tyler Henry, March 22, 1821 – December 29, 1898, American gunsmith and inventor of the Henry rifle, the first reliable lever-action repeating rifle. Kunitomo Ikanze, November 21, 1778 – December 26, 1840, Japanese gun manufacturer. Eric Jørgensen, May 17, 1848 – 1896, Norwegian master gunsmith, known for his part in developing the Krag Jørgensen rifle. Mikhail Kalashnikov, November 10, 1919 – December 23, 2013, Soviet-Russian firearms designer, noted for creating the AK-47 and AK-74 line of assault rifles and submachine guns. Václav Haman, July 18, 1986, Czech sports shooter and professional gunsmith. Ole Herman Johannes Krag, April 7, 1837 – December 9, 1916, a Norwegian officer and firearms designer, noted for developing the Krag Jørgensen rifle. Jean-Alexandre Le Mat, 1824–1883, French gunsmith, known for the percussion cap revolver that bears his name, see Le Mat revolver. George Luger, March 6, 1849 – December 22, 1923, Austrian designer of the Luger pistol and the 9x19 mm parabellum cartridge. Luger technically was a consulting engineer with only casual interest in firearms who was employed to redesign the Brockhart pistol, a design with sound operating principles but was very difficult to manufacture and was ungainly in appearance. His highly developed mechanical engineering skills transformed the Brockhart into the benchmark parabellum model pistol, which remains one of the most recognizable and popular handguns of all time. He also redesigned the Brockhart cartridge into the .30 calories Luger cartridge, which was the standard chambering of the Luger pistol in WW1. When it was found to be underpowered in actual combat, he redesigned the round to take a 9mm projectile. This became the iconic 9mm Luger cartridge, which is still in wide production and use worldwide. Nikolai Makarov, May 22, 1914 – May 13, 1988, Soviet firearms designer, most notable for his Makarov pistol. Mauser family. Paul Mauser, June 27, 1838 – May 29, 1914, German weapon designer and manufacturer/industrialist. Wilhelm Mauser, May 2, 1834 – January 13, 1882, German weapon designer and manufacturer/industrialist. Hiram Maxim, February 5, 1840 – November 24, 1916, American-born inventor and later naturalized British subject known as the inventor of the Maxim gun. Bob Munden, February 8, 1942 – December 10, 2012, gunsmith and exhibition shooter. Evelyn Owen, 1915 to 1949, Australian gunsmith and inventor of the Owen submachine gun. William B. Ruger, June 21, 1916 – July 6, 2002, American gunsmith and co-founder of Sturm, Ruger and Company. D. Udon Sive, 1889–1973, Belgian small arms designer who created the FN Model 1949 and the FN FAL. Giulio V. Savioli, June 12, 1933 – July 31, 2009, Italian-American firearms designer and gunsmith. Eugene Stoner, November 22, 1922 – April 24, 1997, American firearms designer, noted for the AR-15, later adopted as the M16 rifle. Patrick Sweeney, American gunsmith, author, and handguns editor of Guns and Ammo magazine. Fedor Tokarev, June 2, 1871 – March 6, 1968, Russian weapons designer, known as the designer of the Tokarev self-loading pistols and rifles. Ernest Verviers, Belgian gunsmith who designed the FN Mag and FN Minimi. Karl Walter, November 22, 1858 – July 9, 1915, German gunsmith, who founded the firm Karl Walter GmbH Sportwaffen. Legal requirements. In many countries of the world, the possession and ownership of firearms by civilians is highly restricted or outright illegal. The practice of gunsmithing is therefore typically restricted, licensed, or regulated. In some circumstances, the only legal firearms-related repairs are by individuals trained and employed by the military or police. These individuals are known as armorers. Typically, their skill level is usually far below that of the private or artisan gunsmith. Where the gunsmith frequently has to design, manufacture, and fit parts ranging from small internal parts and assemblies, the armorer usually only has to replace standard interchangeable parts belonging to only one type, series, or family of military-related firearms. They typically are furnished a large inventory of standard parts that are known to wear and cause malfunctions in the weapons they will encounter, and they are simply trained to replace these items until satisfactory function is restored. In the regions where ownership is permitted but limited or restricted to those individuals able to afford the costs of acquiring and owning a firearm, the firearms that are allowed tend to be fewer in number and possess levels of craftsmanship and decoration that approach that of an art object instead of simply a device to expel a projectile. Gunsmithing in these regions, as in Germany and Britain, is concerned with the handcrafting of completely custom-made firearms tailored to the requirements of the owner. Federal Republic of Germany. Germany has a tradition of hunting, but this is generally a complicated undertaking that limits its participation. Firearms possession is highly regulated by the police, and most hunters own only one long gun and perhaps a single pistol. One of Germany's more distinctive firearm developments is the drilling, a multi-barrel gun that may incorporate a double-barreled shotgun above with a high-powered single-shot barrel below. These typically have highly sophisticated breech mechanisms, precise fitting, and are hand-engraved by artists specializing in this work. The stocks are usually fitted to the individual and are very expensive wood with highly figured grain. Italian Republic. Italy has a rich history of gun-making and gunsmithing going back several hundred years with the production of matchlock, flintlock, and caplock rifles and pistols. The city of Brescia, Italy, and specifically its suburb of Gardone Val Trompia is historical home to a number of firearm manufacturers and gunsmiths. Firearm ownership is heavily restricted by the Italian government. Private ownership of various types and numbers of firearms is allowed. Japan. During the Tokugawa period in Japan, starting in the 17th century, the government imposed very restrictive controls on the small number of gunsmiths in the nation, thereby ensuring the almost total prohibition of firearms. Japan, in the post-war period, has had gun regulation which is strict in principle. Gun licensing is required, and is heavily regulated by the National Police Agency of Japan. The weapons law begins by stating no one shall possess a firearm or firearms or a sword or swords, and very few exceptions are allowed. United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. England makes some of the most expensive handcrafted firearms in the world, despite a highly restrictive ownership environment. But, as the gunsmith's patrons are usually well able to afford the high ownership fees and stringent storage requirements, the price of the arm is only secondary. Decoration of these arms, typically double-barreled shotguns, is on par with the plates used to mint currency and is priced about the same. Several of the other European countries follow this pattern, as in Italy, where the art of the gunsmith has also reached a high level of sophistication. These craftsmen may specialize as in the case of the gun engraver and stock maker. Generally, these craftsmen serve long apprenticeships under master gunmakers. They may also be members of guilds which set up apprentice programs, often sponsored by the governments in these countries, as highly crafted firearms are important items in the export trade, supervise training, and conduct exams where the journeyman-level gunsmiths submit sample firearms of their own work in order to be admitted the guild membership. Many of these can only be regarded as gunmakers instead of gunsmiths, and do repairs only on the very highest grade firearms. Many are able to make a substantial livelihood. United States of America. In the United States, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, is the primary federal agency overseeing all legitimate businesses that deal with firearms, with the exception of firearms made before January 1, 1899 or muzzle-loading firearms. The ATF is in charge of the licensing of all legitimate firearms dealers and gunsmiths in the U.S. that engage in business with the public. The issuance of a federal firearms license, FFL, involves a thorough background investigation and an inspection of the gunsmith's premises by an agent of the ATF. The ATF requires all gunsmiths to record all repairs, noting the serial numbers, type of firearm, caliber or gauge, and full particulars of the owner, with an accepted form of identification ID to be presented and recorded. Gunsmiths are required to maintain these records in a permanent, non-alterable form. The ATF inspects the premises of all licensed gunsmiths with unannounced visits at periodic intervals. The ATF is granted the power by the U.S. government to initiate the prosecution in U.S. federal court of gunsmiths that willfully omit or violate these provisions. Punishment can range from losing their FFL, and therefore the privilege to engage in any firearms-related business, to fines and in severe cases, such as conspiring to supply the criminal element with black market weaponry, imprisonment in a federal prison. Gunsmiths who lack sophisticated machine shop capabilities must understand the law. Enlisting an unlicensed, no FFL, machine shop to create gun receivers can be illegal. Other common parts such.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.